the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me.
Delegate Lehman, I'm sorry to interrupt. Your microphone got muted for some reason. If you could repeat that, my apologies.
Yes, should I start at the beginning or?
Yes, if you can, please. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
yeah, yes, Mr. Chair. This is the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Thank you, Delegate Lehman. Appreciate it for you offering the pledge and the prayer this morning. We're going to get right into our agenda. We do have special guests today, but I do want to take a moment to introduce a few folks, just so people are aware. Roger Massey is the secretary of our delegation. He calls all roll calls, and if we have any issues, Matt Carpenter is our legal counsel. We'd like to welcome him this morning. And I do not see any other special guests, so let's get right into it. I'd like to introduce our county executive in Anne Arundel County, Stuart Pittman. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Pruski, and whole delegation. It's great to be with you. Love doing this every year. I'm going to try to keep it from getting too long here. I'm not going to talk about everything, but I do want to introduce staff, people I invited to join us who I want you to know, and I want you to know their faces. So if all of you could quickly, when I say your name, unmute and say hello. That way you'll show up on the screen and maybe people will see your face and remember you. So let's start with Christine Anderson, our Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, everybody.
And Jenny Probstel, our Chief of Staff.
Good morning, all.
And Ethan Hunt, Director of Government Affairs.
Morning, everyone.
Hannah Dyer, Deputy Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning.
And Jansen Evelyn, Deputy Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, all.
And Renisha Alfonso, our Director of Communications.
Good morning, everyone.
Asha Smith, Director, Office of Equity and Human Rights.
Good morning.
Allison Flores, Director of Office of Multicultural Affairs.
Good morning, everyone.
Wow, you guys are quick. I didn't think you'd unmute this quickly. Vincent Molden, Director of Community Engagement and Constituent Services.
Good morning, everyone.
Tom Nee, Legislative Assistant.
Good morning, everyone.
And Mohammed Papalze, Legislative and Communications Assistant and Service Year Fellow, which Tom Nee was last year and is now permanent.
Good morning, everyone.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we've done really well with those Service Year Fellows. They seem to be so good that we end up hiring them often. Here's what I'm going to do. I won't talk about everything. I want to say something about budgets, land use, Crownsville, and then mention some things having to do with the new administration coming in and how that's impacting our work. So let me start with the county budget. Outlook is good. Revenues are coming in as a typical year. We're in the middle of town halls. I think I've done 48 of them since I started 6 years ago, and they're going well. People are coming in and sharing their priorities. I want to mention that some of the county has been reassessed. As you know, the SDAT does that for a third of the county every year. Once every 3 years, everybody gets reassessed. Values are jumping up, which is a good thing if you're selling your house. And people are a little bit shocked by that, thinking, oh, my property taxes are going to go way up. Everybody knows this, but I just want to remind you when your constituents raise this issue that Anne Arundel County, unlike much of the state and the city of Annapolis, it has a 10% homestead tax credit if you apply for it, if you live in your home. So your taxes can go up in those areas 10% maximum based on the value. In Anne Arundel County, it's 2%. So you may have a 20% increase in value, but your tax rate is only going to be calculated on the 2% increase. So that's a great benefit to our taxpayers. I will also say that means that when the assessments go up and people say that counties or our county is going to have a whole lot of extra revenue because of that. That's not true. We don't get that much extra revenue. We only get that 2%. So while it's an okay budget year, in terms of revenue, the county's in good financial condition. We have our three AAA bond ratings and all of that good stuff. Real estate transfer tax are still almost, $90 million less than they were a few years ago, as the market starts to come back, and expenses are, of course, going up as they are for the state. So you all know something about budgets, and so it's going to be a tough year and a tight year with a lot of uncertainty, and that's what we're telling people in budget town halls. As far as the state budget goes, I only know what I have read, and in summaries, I will admit that I have not actually dug into the details of the budget. Some of our staff is doing that as we speak. I do appreciate some things that are in the governor's capital budget for the county. As always, it's not as much as in years past, so we didn't expect that. I want to note one thing that we asked for, and I think we put it at the top of our specific list for the governor, was the Edgewater Recreation Center that's going to serve Edgewater and the surrounding area. Also, parts of Annapolis will come down there, turning a giant food into a former grocery store into a rec center. And the governor budget contributes $2 million towards that, and we hope that continues. And that way it'll be a state and county project, and we can all celebrate and go down there and play pickleball or whatever. I also want to just note that we really do appreciate that the governor's budget, as part of the economic development and growth package for the state of Maryland, recognizes that ending childhood poverty really is an economic driver, and the Enough Act is a really smart program. Talk to Pam Brown from the county if you want to hear a comparison of how the Enough Act compares to programs of the past. Very impressed. And we were in Brooklyn Park yesterday because Brooklyn Park was one of the 12 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland that was selected for the top tier of funding for that. So we've got community groups involved in that. I don't see Gary here, but he was widely praised up there during that introduction last.
I'm here.
yesterday.
I'm on. I don't know why.
Oh,
you
there
can't
you are,
see me.
Delegate Simmons. All right.
All right.
Yeah. You were there in spirit. We had your picture up on the screen.
I was there. I came after you. I was there.
Oh, you came late. I left early. Sorry about that. Okay. So I also want to say that I appreciate that. I do believe that the governor's budget people understood. They were told, don't try to balance this budget on the backs of local jurisdictions, on counties. They have been hit in the past during budget balancing exercises, and we're still feeling the pain from some of that. So while they calculate $157 million hit to counties in the budget proposal, about 10% of that is in Arundel, we believe, and we've seen some numbers that reflect about that. So $15–16 million, but some of that being offset with the tax reform proposal that they put in. So it could get worse, and we don't want it to get worse. If it does, then we're going to have to do some real backpedaling with our residents at our downtown halls in our budget proposal, if that's the case. So please keep your eyes on that for us. I know there's been a lot of conversation about the increase in the income tax rate of 0.5%, which is, of course, not a huge increase for people making over $500 million in a year, individuals, even higher for families, or 0.75% for people over $1 million. And there's been talk about loss of wealth and flight of millionaires from the county. I personally don't believe that's the case. The one study that was done when Maryland had a millionaire's tax was looked at during a time when people were leaving for other reasons. A lot of people have come. The expensive homes in our county are selling like hotcakes. So I don't believe that millionaires are trying to leave or that this will make them. I think that they'll stick around if our schools are good. So I hope that most of you don't feel too much concern over that for Anne Arundel County, and maybe we can handle a little more. Most of that will be offset. All of that will be offset, I believe, and more by federal tax cuts that are coming for people at the top of the income scale. So they'll be able to invest in their state rather than in the federal government. So I want to say something about land use. It's always it's very much a local issue, as you know, but it's very much on the minds of our residents. So we are in the middle of this process of rezoning the whole county, but we divided it into 3 sections, and we're in the middle of the middle section of 3 of the 9 regions for comprehensive rezoning. So the county council is going to have to be working their way through all of that. But I just want to note that I'm very proud of the region plans and stakeholder advisory committees that have been engaged in this with plan and zoning. We really do seem to be one of maybe the only county in the state of Maryland that really is getting this concept of doing smarter, greener, and more equitable growth so that we can grow economically, we can do housing, and we can protect our environment all at the same time. So it's a narrow path to walk, but I believe that our residents are on board for that. I want to also sort of celebrate that we've gotten some good legislation done. We've got a lot of housing bills in previous years. We got our moderately priced dwelling unit program finally passed and will be implemented July 1st. A mixed use bill that also expands opportunity and creates flexibility in mixed use zones. A redevelopment bill that is before the county right now that is very much a smart growth concept of doing the growth where there's infrastructure, not in environmentally sensitive areas. A traffic APF bill coming to modernize that law, and an impact fee bill coming since we did an impact fee study trying to determine how much of cost should be borne by taxpayers versus the folks that are doing the development. So that is all coming, and that is all going to be hard work and controversial. Keep your ears open. And then finally, housing. We've done a lot of the legislation. We all feel good about that. But in terms of actual production for our essential workforce that keeps our county running, it's still frustrating. So we've been meeting with our team. We've got a comprehensive housing strategy that ACDS is working on right now. They've been doing a lot of community outreach for that. I kind of call it Housing 2.0. Let's start all over again and do the things that we know are going to produce. So expect to see some new initiatives coming out of Arundel Community Development Services, funded in part by our Great Housing Trust Fund. And the strategy is going to be not just legislative changes, but development of housing, sometimes by ACDS, hopefully smaller units that are both more sustainable and more affordable naturally without subsidies. And then protecting the housing that we have. We're going to be announcing a partnership with the state and the city that is going to, I don't like to use the word, but it is in fact a bit of a bailout for the Housing Authority of the city of Annapolis so that they don't lose what they have and can make their transitions that they're trying to do to redevelop all their housing, and work that we're doing to preserve our mobile home parks, address expiring affordability restrictions where they exist, and really protecting the older stock that is naturally affordable. So stay tuned on those strategies. Crownsville, you probably most of you have seen or at least heard of the draft master plan, which I feel like is a wonderful document based on a huge amount of community input and engagement. The final master plan will be presented at 11 a.m. on February 5th in the Arundel Center, and you all will receive invitations. I hope you can join us, and that will include some timeline work, some categories of what we think can be accomplished in the next 5 years and what will probably take longer, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. There will be costs listed, and revenue sources will be a topic of conversation that we'll all be a part of. If you want to hear Chairman Pruski's thoughts on that, tune in to Pittman and Friends podcast a week from Tuesday, and you will hear our conversation on that topic. So I want to thank you all for visiting. Crownsville who have, let us know if you haven't and you would like to. Thank you for the $30.5 million that you got to us to get this work started. Couldn't have done that without it. And I also want to note that the nonprofit center at Crownsville is going to be opening its doors spring, summer. I believe that we may have an open house. We don't have the nonprofits in there yet, but the whole building has been rehabbed and it's looking great. So finally, I want to just note that as the new administration has come in, I mean, everybody knows they've seen these executive orders, they've seen changes. Particularly, I just want to note that the Office of Law has been a very important partner for us, for county administration, in interpreting some of these changes. You all have constituents in your districts that are fearful of deportation. Some maybe people who don't have legal status. It may be people who do, or maybe people who are somewhere in between. Maybe people who are born in this country. There's a lot of fear right now. There's attendance down in some of our schools that have a lot of immigrants, the students in them. So we will be following the law. We have a good relationship with ICE, and I hope it stays that way. There may be changes in the law that we will have to interpret as we go. One of the reasons I wanted Allison Flores here is I wanted you to see her face and know that she is somebody that you can send people to if they have questions about immigration status changes and how to handle it, how to deal with it. I also want to note that the changes in diversity, equity, and inclusion, we saw some of that in the last Trump administration, and clearly that is coming back with the folks who work in the federal government first, and we expect to have impacts related to federal funding and things. So again, our Office of Law will be guiding us. Asha Smith is very much on top of this, and we are also leaning on our peer counties and on the state to coordinate interpretations and how to move forward. And then the last thing is that, there has been, some of you have read, you could describe it as a shutdown of communications between some federal agencies and the people they serve, the constituents, the local governments. So there are grant programs, there are programs where our people can't get emails back or have meetings with or real communication with the people in those federal agencies. So the administration, I mean, this is, I think, unprecedented, but this administration seems to be shutting some services down, shutting some people out. And we will keep you informed about that and about how that's impacting grant programs, federal funding, and federal programs. So I just want to close on a much brighter note, which is thank you for the incredibly hard work that you do. I know that you're working even harder in these uncertain times and difficult times for state budget. And thank you for being the partner that really we go to. And particularly on the sort of the little things that aren't on the forefront of your mind or your constituents. Sometimes they're technical things that our agencies bring to us, and we bring them to you, and you always carry them forward. Things like insurance pooling, impact fee waiver this year, managed aquifer recharge, things that are county specific issues. We obviously couldn't do that without the great partnership. So I will stop there, and if we have time for questions, I'd love to engage.
Thank you, County Executive Pittman, and also your staff. I do want to highlight to folks, because this happens to your offices a lot, but if people have questions about warming centers, potholes, there's a constituent issue. The folks that are on this call are the folks you need to reach out to. I don't know, County Executive Pittman, I think you've done it before, but I would request this. If you had a list of those folks and their contact information, we could share that with the delegation. That'd be great, because I appreciate you bringing everybody here today, and thank you for the updates. They're very, very helpful. I do know we have a few questions, but before I do that, I want to recognize that Senator Simon Ayer from our Senate has joined us, and I believe Senator Bidel, if anybody else does join us, but I do want to recognize that they're here as well. Delegate Howard, you had a question. We'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. County Executive Pittman, the $500,000 tax increase that you talked briefly about, are you talking about the governor's budget or the county budget?
I'm talking about the governor's budget.
Okay, well, you do understand, correct, that half percent also acts as and will tax businesses that act as a pass-through. So I do understand the rationale that where a lot of business owners may feel like it's time to close up shop, feel like it's time to leave, because grains of sand do equal a heap, and quite frankly, when you're registered as an LLC and your income is acting as a pass-through for businesses, that 0.5% is going to add up. It's going to add up quickly, and it's going to add up largely to the business community. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the vast majority of it is not that. And I know, I mean, I was a small business, made the decision.
Well, that's the tax law. I mean, that's the way the budget's structured. If you act as so that it is that.
Right. And every one of those businesses does have the choice as to whether they want to be, whether they want to file their taxes that way or whether they want to separate their business out as a separate LLC. So that's not the case.
But that puts them into more vulnerability. The reason you form it under an
And
LLC is
protections
to
as well.
separate.
I mean, I think the vast majority of businesses are not done that way, and so they have that choice. And it may be that some of them choose, as a result of this 0.5%, to switch the way they structure their business. It's just paperwork that you have to file with the state to do so in the feds.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Right. Thank you, Delegate Howard. Delegate Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. County Executive. One of the things that I found interesting that I didn't know until reading up on it last night, we're planning to, in the governor's budget, and I know you have a lot of conversations with the governor, to eliminate the inheritance tax, but to reduce the state tax threshold. It's my understanding that an inheritance tax is how we fully fund every one of our register of wills in every county across the state, which is, several $1 million. Did you have any conversations with him on how you backfill that?
No, I have not had conversations in detail about the budget. There was one briefing for county leaders that his staff did that didn't get into that level of detail. And I know, I mean, only because I've read in the same articles that you've read, that that's not the intent to not fund the registers of wills. And I don't believe that will happen. I hope that having just one tax instead of two, I believe we're one of the only states in the country that has, both taxes, the inheritance and the estate. So hopefully that will simplify things for people.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Delegate Chisholm, for the question. I see no other questions that are out there, but I do want to highlight the county executive. Every time I reached out to him has been very helpful, along with the staff, and we can get the information. We want to thank you for coming today and giving us updates and information. Certainly it's helpful to the folks that are here. So thank you again to your team for joining us.
Thank you all. Appreciate it so much.
Great. We're going to move forward on agenda, and this is something a little bit different from prior years. This is a chair decision. Only House members are allowed to ask questions during the House hearing. I just want to make sure that's clear. We do that for the sake of the meeting to meet on time, but we're going to move to bills. But technically, I need to move the meeting over to our vice chair because I have the first two bills. So Vice Chairman Simmons, I wanted to make sure you let me know when you're ready, and I'll present on the first two bills, and then we'll move to the other folks.
Outstanding. My kind gentleman from District 33, you may proceed with your bill.
Great, thank you. First bill on the agenda today for the Anne Arundel House delegation is House Bill 409, Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners, part-time Deputy Chief Inspector for compensation. This bill was actually introduced last year. It did not pass or move forward, and some delegates had questions. I know one of the questions that was asked in subcommittee and other things were that jobs needed to be posted from the Board of Commissioners. My understanding, and I've actually checked the website, is that is occurring. So I'm glad to see that we've had progress with that, but I wanted to make that as a part of the record. This bill, though, does move the Board of License Commissioner part-time Deputy Chief Inspector from 9,000 to 18,000. The hours of this position have significantly increased. Often this position, these hours are being done and not being compensated. As you know, Anne Arundel County's population has grown. I know in my own area in Odenton, the population doubled from 2010 to 2020. So besides that, in other areas and in your districts, I know that Anne Arundel County continues to grow and certainly does the work of the Anne Arundel County Commissioners. So again, I'm introducing this bill on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. I know that they're here with us today. I don't know if they want to add anything for HB 409. I'll give them that opportunity, and I'm assuming we can open up for questions. But anybody from the Liquor Board, if you wanted to add anything that I missed for HB 409.
I see no one.
Great. Then we'll open it up to questions.
I'm sorry, Delegate Bagnell, please.
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair, I think they were speaking, but they were on mute. I'm not sure if they were aware they were on mute.
Okay.
Okay, I apologize. My name is Wayne Harris. I'm the chairman for the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. I want to thank Chairman Pruski and Vice Chair Simmons for this opportunity, as well as all the delegates. These two bills, the one particular HB 409 was introduced last year and pulled at the last minute. We wanted to make sure that there was a clear understanding of what the bill involved and everything. This bill has not changed from its original writing last year. It does double the hours that our deputy chief works. Everybody part-time is obligated to 5 hours a week minimum. And the deputy chief has been not only doubling that, but sometimes as many as 20, 25 hours a week. He's played a very important role. I'm going to let our chief answer any questions anybody has. But the deputy chief has literally taken over our IT department here at the liquor board because we had no previous IT department. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to turn it over to our chief who was here, Chief Ford, and he can answer those. We also have job descriptions for not only the deputy chief's position, but the chief and the inspectors, which we're going to send out to all the delegates.
Thank you. Any other questions for the liquor board members? Delegate Chisholm, please.
Yeah, it would have been great to have that beforehand. Obviously, we're talking about giving a raise and have no idea what the descriptions of these positions are. But I guess my question is, I know that we were paying them last year. We tried to raise it last year, or there was an attempt to raise. Can somebody give me a quick summary of what the deputy chief inspector is doing right now, or the part-time one? So I understand it's you, Mr. Harris, and then one other. Am I correct on that?
I'm going to let Chief Ford handle that. He is the direct supervisor over the deputy chief, and he can explain the duties and answer your questions.
Okay.
Delegate.
Thank you, Delegate Chisholm. So first of all, Sean is fantastic. We've got a really high quality individual in this role. And he's an overachiever, which is why, he puts in more hours than he's really supposed to. I try to push back on that, but someone like that really who wants to go above and beyond is always going to go above and beyond. He, with my supervision, oversees a lot of the training of our new inspectors. As the chairman said, he oversees, again, with my supervision, all of the IT aspects of our new iPads. He liaises with me and with Eddie with respect to the database. He also is our point person along with Inspector Frank Faulkner at Maryland Live, but Sean has really sort of built great relationships there. It's a very sort of challenging license. They're fantastic, by the way, but just the nature of it's challenging. So his role has expanded from what it was when I was the deputy chief. And he's fantastic. And I want to sort of make sure he's getting recognized and compensated for what he's actually doing.
How many inspectors do we have, and how many new inspectors are we bringing on every year that he's training?
So we have a total of 20 inspectors, including myself and the deputy chief. So 18 plus the deputy chief and me. We probably average a turnover of about 2 inspectors a year. Roughly, sometimes more, sometimes less, I would say, over the years, if that answers your question.
I'm just trying to get a scope of it. So is it mostly IT? Is it more of he's meeting face to face with new inspectors and current inspectors, making sure the technology is staying current with the inspectors?
He is my Swiss Army knife. It's a lot of everything, to be honest with you. And again, he's taking things, he's coming up with ideas and solutions in a role that's essentially 5 hours a week that is above and beyond. And I think that sort of anybody else who eventually steps into that role is going to have some pretty big shoes to fill. But we want to make sure that should something happen to Sean tomorrow when he walks away, that we have the resources to be able to go out and say, hey, look, this is, it's a part-time job, but it's significant, it's meaty, and here are your responsibilities.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw Delegate Wagner. Did you still want to say anything, or you put your hand down?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I just wanted to ask because if this is in the same posture as it was when we considered it last year as a delegation.
Yes, that's correct, Delegate Wagner.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't see any other. I'm sorry, Delegate Smith, please.
Yeah. Do you recall? Did we move this out of committee last year? Okay. Thank you. I see some head shaking. Yes. Thank you.
Any further questions by any other members? Seeing none, thank you for your time. Delegate Pruski, you can proceed with your next bill.
Thank you, Vice Chair Simmons. This is a similar bill, and this was a bill that was also introduced last year. This is HB 410, Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners, Chief Inspector. I would ask, again, the Liquor Board to talk about the job description, but this was introduced. This bill does raise the compensation for the Chief Inspector on the non-represented pay schedule from an NR5 to NR15. I know that this position is significantly increased. I'll let them talk about that. I'll turn it over to them to discuss that. Thank you.
Please unmute.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this bill was never actually introduced last year. We were going to introduce it, but because of the situation with the bills being pulled, we did not. But our Chief Ford, is paid at a NR rate of 5. And I just want to really point out that when this became a full-time position, I was chief at that time. And through the wisdom of the legislature, they agreed to an NR5 rating. I did not object to it because my sole concern was to try to get the chief working 40 hours a week to be able to handle the duties. And personally, I'm retired from several jobs, so I'm in a little different position. The chief's position at an NR5 it's the lowest in this office. As a matter of fact, we have 2 secretaries and they are NR13s. So you can see a dramatic difference between the NR5 and the NR13 of the secretaries. The chief's position, handling and supervising 19 of the inspectors who are part-time, is quite a job. Plus, he has been a resource for the administration and the board in many cases when it comes to handling sensitive situations with our licensees and various things like that. But I'm going to turn it over to the chief briefly to answer any questions for the job description. And we will see that everybody gets a full job description on not just the deputy chief, but the chief and also the inspectors. Chief Ford.
Yeah, I think you did a great job in laying it out, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Yes, sir. Delegate Chisholm, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. What is the current salary? I know you said it's an NR5, but you're gonna have to enlighten me on what NR5 pays right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to ask our executive director, Aronson, to give you those scales. Right now, I believe he's being paid at the maximum of the NR5, we're about to be, and we're looking at NR5 goes between $35,318 with a maximum of $63,445. That's an NR5. An NR15, which is what we're requesting he be moved to, minimum is $57,876. So we're looking at approximately $3,500 higher at the minimum, and the maximum is $103,971. So the target here is the NR15 between $57,000 and $103,000. The board will make a determination if this is approved as to exactly what we want to pay the chief, and of course that scale will stay in until till forever unless it's changed again. Hopefully I answered your question, Delegate Chisholm.
So it could go up to 103,000. Is NR15, is that fully benefited?
Yes, it is a full-time position. It's the only inspector who, because of the full-time position, is benefited.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions of the members? Seeing none, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Vice Chair Simmons. I will take back now that those are the two bills that I had. Thank you. Great job. We are now going to move on to HB 99. Anne Arundel County Class A and Class D licenses population ratio quota. So I'll turn that over to the sponsor to say a few words, and then anyone presenting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If possible, would it be okay to switch the order and do 515 and then do 99? Because I anticipate there'll be more questions with 99 and less with 515.
That's perfect. We can do that. So just for clarity, we're going to switch HB 15 with 99. We'll do HB 515 first. Delegate Rogers, yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair Pruski, Vice Chair Simmons, and members of the Anne Arundel County delegation. For the record, Delegate Mike Rogers, Legislative District 32. And I'm here to respectfully request a favorable report of House Bill 515. This bill will allow a certain holder of a Class C beer, wine, liquor license in Anne Arundel County to convert the license to a Class C Veterans Organizations license. This will alter the annual license fee for Class C Veterans Organizations license from the current $400 fee to a $300 fee. This will also authorize the holder of a Class C Veterans Organization license to operate on Sunday without obtaining a Sunday license. So I respectfully request a favorable report on House Bill 515. And I would just share with the members that this bill, the cross file is with Senator Simonier, and we reached out to the Liquor Board and as well as several folks that would be impacted by this potential legislation. And primarily, we're talking about the American Legions, the VFWs, and they're all in support of this legislation.
Okay, I'm seeing if there's any questions related to this bill. I see none. Thank you, Delegate Rogers. We'll keep moving forward. And I do want to highlight our Prince George's and Arundel folks do have to go to their Prince George's delegation meeting, so we can keep moving forward the agenda so they're allowed to at least hear the bills. I think we're doing a great job right now, but I just wanted to recognize that. And also, I believe, just for recognition only, I want to thank Senator Henson for joining us today in the meeting. I want to recognize all of our senators that dropped in today. All right, let's move forward then. HB 99, Delegate Rogers.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Chair Pruski and Vice Chair Simmons, for the record, Delegate Mike Rogers here to respectfully request a favorable report of House Bill 99. So this bill will implement a population quota for the number of off-premise alcohol beverage licenses that can be issued in the county. Similar laws already exist in 12 other counties in Maryland. Anne Arundel County has had population quota statute in existence for many years, but it is discretionary. This legislation would make it mandatory. Once the quota is adopted, the Liquor Board would annually determine the population in each assessment district using population data from the U.S. Census Bureau. If the existing number of licenses exceeds 1 per 4,000 individuals, additional licenses would not be available in that district. On the other hand, if the existing number of licenses is less than 1 per 4,000 individuals, additional licenses could be issued, but would still have to undergo Liquor Board review. And I think that's key. It would still have to undergo Liquor Board review. With other counties, the population data can be updated annually, ensuring that as the population grows in a district, the new number of licenses will as well, so that the surrounding community has adequate availability of alcoholic beverages, but not an overabundance of outlets. So I respectfully request a favorable report for House Bill 99, and I would certainly like to offer the opportunity. I have a panel, Mr. Chair, and so if I could turn it over to Steve Weiss to offer some further explanation if necessary.
Is it all right to proceed, Mr. Chairman? Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Delegate Rogers. My name is Steve Wise. I represent the Anne Arundel County Licensed Beverage Association, and also on the call today is Julianne Sullivan. She's the proprietor at Bella's Liquors on Cape St. Clair, and I think some of you may know her. Delegate Rogers gave you the overall background. I just want to make a few additional points to make sure everybody understands what we're doing here and why. As he mentioned, this is done already in about 12 other Maryland counties. So it's been implemented, and it is doable. This legislation does not cover restaurant licenses, just so everybody understands. There would be no changes there. This simply applies to off-premise licenses, package stores. The reason that we're asking for this is because it will provide, in our view, some much needed predictability in the issuance of off-premise licenses. And we mean that not only for those that already have licenses, but for those that are applying for licenses. And we think it also gives the board a standard by which they lend predictability to those who appear in front of them as to whether or not a license can be issued. Many times with off-premise licenses, the decision of the board, one way or the other, ends up in litigation, which is not good for those involved, not good for the board. And we think this will help head some of that off. There are some disagreements between us and the board on this, most notably whether or not Class D, as in David, licenses should be included in the bill. It is the association's view that since a significant number of those have a largely off-premise presence, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'll wrap it up, that they should be included. The board feels differently. We're happy to continue conversations with them about that. And my final point is, along those same lines, the board had raised the issue that breweries often get Class D licenses. We're happy to carve them out by way of amendment, and we're happy to address the concern that, as applied right now, this would stymie the issuance of any additional Class A's or D's. Of the other 12 jurisdictions that have done this, they've carved out an exception for new shopping centers, and we are happy to do the same, but we would need to work on language toward that end. So I think if it's the will of the delegation, we're happy to work on this in the subcommittee. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, Julianne is with us as well.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. I just want to look through to make sure I didn't miss anybody that has their hand up. I'm not going to speak for the delegation, but certainly, I'm sorry, Delegate Bagnall has either a question or comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's not a question. I just wanted to recognize my constituent who's on here and say thank you for being here. And I appreciate the comments to move this to subcommittee. I think that's a reasonable ask. But thank you for our multi-generational retailers who are on the call.
Thank you. And we'll entertain, if you don't mind, Delegate Bagnall, a motion to move that bill to subcommittee or any others, but I know Delegate Chisholm had a question first.
Yeah, I'm not at subcommittee, but I did want to ask a quick question, so I thank you. Steve, I recall in my area, there was one of the big, let's say Walmarts and liquor stores tried to move into close to like Dawson's, which is the oldest store in Serona Park, and Goska's, which has been there since 1940. A lot of these old mom and pop, they were threatened by one of these large distributors coming in and kind of ruining their businesses. Would this if this bill was in effect, would it stop that and all the? I know there was a very high price tag for them to fight that off because once again it was a very large business that was trying to come in. Would this bill, if it would have been in legislation at that time, would it have stopped that?
I believe it would have, and in that area, I think is one of the areas where there's an overabundance of licenses. And to your example, it would have been apparent to the board, to the applicant, to the nearby licensees from the jump in that scenario that that district already had an overpopulation under the formula. So It would have said, it's not viable right now. If the population grows, it could be, but it would have avoided just what you laid out.
So this bill would essentially remove some gray matter and give more clarity to everybody involved in the industry.
That's certainly our view. But again, we acknowledge there's some details that we need to iron out. But
Sure.
and I've argued liquor license cases in probably 15 of Maryland's jurisdictions, and those that have this, it certainly heads off a lot of problems from the start.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Chisholm. What I
Mr.
want to do.
Chair,
Yes.
just one question to Steve Weiss, and I guess it's just a follow up to the comment that you just made. So this is currently already existence in 12 other counties, and you indicated that you've argued this case or cases such as this in other counties, and have those been successful?
Well, I mean, the population quota cuts down on how many cases you end up with, I guess would be my point.
Okay.
And to be fair, Delegate Rogers, with the other jurisdictions, the ratio, exactly the terms of it, it all varies a little bit by county, but they all have some form of either ratio or hard limit on the number of licenses.
No, so I appreciate that clarification. And then also, Mr. Chair, I know, and I would point out to members of the delegation, I've had spoken to a number of owners throughout Anne Arundel County who are in support of this, and I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Kim Lawson, who actually called me from Thailand last night to express her concerns over this legislation in support of it. And so she may very well actually be dialed in on Zoom watching this. So appreciate Kim for your advocacy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Rogers, and thank you. I did believe, and I'm going to read the tea leaves in the room, there may be some further discussion on this bill. I didn't know if anybody had a motion on any of the bills. I do know we have two LBIs that have also been patiently waiting, so I want to make sure we're the agenda, but I'm going to, looks like Delegate Bagnall.
Mr. Chair, if you would indulge, I would move to make a motion to move HB 99 to subcommittee, because it sounds like we've got some amendments, and then they can work it out.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor, if you'd unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. HB 99 has been moved to the alcohol subcommittee. Delegate Rogers, thank you again for bringing that forward, answering the questions, and the others that were here. Are there any other motions or discussions on the bills that we discussed today? Great. We're going to move forward. Thank you all for your patience. I think we did a great job, and if we can continue this pace, we'll do good things for Anne Arundel County. So thank you all for working together, and also thank the Liquor Board and others. Do want to recognize, it looks like Senator Guile also joined us. I just want to make sure that anyone who's here, as a courtesy, to let them know. Let's move forward, though. We do have two LBIs, and then we'll close out for today. Rude Ranch is here to present, so we'll let them in, and once you have access, you do have 2 minutes, and then we'll open it up for any brief questions, but Rude Ranch is up.
Thank you, Chair Pruski. Can you hear me?
Yes, you may proceed. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Eric Androulis. I represent Rude Ranch Animal Rescue. I've been working with Senator Guile for the past 2 years to try to get support for a legislative bond initiative for a spay-neuter clinic that provides services to the public in Anne Arundel County. So Rude Ranch Animal Rescue received its IRS determination in 2001. And since then, it opened a spay-neuter clinic in 2012 to serve the members of the Anne Arundel community. And in 2018, it started operating what is called Save Cats, which is the TNR program for all of Anne Arundel County. That is, let me repeat that. That is Anne Arundel County's program for trap, neuter, return for feral cats. Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control does not do that. We do it for the county. So I'd like to give you some numbers, which since time is of the essence. Since inception, we have performed over 80,000 spay-neuter surgeries. We have performed over 5,000 adoptions. We serve an average of 3,000 Anne Arundel County clients per year. We perform an average of 1,000 feral cat surgeries per year at our facility. On average, we save your constituents $500 as compared to a regular veterinary clinic. We have prevented approximately 15,000 kittens and puppies every single year in Anne Arundel County, reducing the weight of burden, financial burden on the animal services. We have provided over 5,000 free TNR spay and neuter to Anne Arundel County feral cats through a grant from Maryland Department of Agriculture. And we have supported over 3,200 families now in largely Brooklyn Park area, low-income families to get them for free from the same grant program. We work with Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control to provide return to field. We do that as a service to Anne Arundel County. Anne Arundel County does not do that. We do it for them. And approximately 97% of Anne Arundel County is served by us. Finally, most importantly, on average, we save the county over $200,000 per year. And I'm just finishing up, sir. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Eric. Finish your sentence.
Sure. And we have we save that money due to reduced intake to Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, reduced and diverted officer response from Anne Arundel Care and Control, spay neuter for Anne Arundel Care and Control. I am there right now performing surgeries for them with my spouse, Dr. Sandra Androulis, return to field, and then finally TNR vaccinations. And I want to thank the delegates and Chair Prusky for your attention and for your time today. And if any delegate would like to support us, I've been working with Guile, as I said, to support our project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eric. And I know that you also sent an email with a presentation. I believe Roger Massey or somebody's going to send that out if we hadn't already, but we want to share that information. But thank you for all that you do. It looks like we have one question with our hand raised, Delegate Schmidt.
Thank you, Chair Prusky. Eric, thank you for all the work that you do. The bond initiative you're looking for, is that for the Crofton location?
That's exactly right. We've been working on that location for about a year now with architects and all the trades to get that built out. That's correct, sir.
Okay, fantastic. If you could give me some of that information over to my office as well, I'll reach out to Senator Guile. If you're looking for a House sponsor or somebody to cross-file that, just let me know.
You rock, man. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for all your work.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Delegate Schmidt, and thank you, Eric. Appreciate you coming today. We're going to move on. Laurel Racetrack Chaplain, LBI. We're going to move on to that presentation next. And once you get in, we're going to do 2 minutes.
Yes, good morning to everybody.
Great. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, sir. First, let me say thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Delegate Bartlett. Greetings to all the esteemed elected officials and guests. I'm the chaplain at the Laurel Racetrack. And I found my calling in serving a community that is a community within a community. It's the Spanish community that's in need of a lot of services. There are 300 to 400 residents, mostly Spanish speaking, and another 1,000 that live off track, but work on the racetrack. I spend my days on the racetrack making myself available to all the needs of all the Spanish people, which are mostly employed there. But I do it out of the trunk of my car. I don't have a working space, but I've committed my life to serving this community. And these are some of the services that are requested of me on a daily basis. The language barrier is an issue, so I have interpreters for them. The community knows that when they have a need, they come and find me. They look for people who know me, have my telephone number, so they come looking for me. They need administrative duties, they need telephone calls to be made, they need appointments, emails, faxes, so they come looking for me and I step up and I help them. We have an alcohol problem on the racetrack, serious, because it's all mostly single individuals that live there, no families allowed. So I have an AA program ready to go, but no facility. I have a pantry, which is supplied by the Loved Ones Pantry in Anne Arundel County, fantastic. But I don't have the facility to feed and take care of all the needs. I currently feed about 40, 50 people at a service that I provide for them, and it also serves the meeting place. There's a need for organization and maintenance of women's support, men's support, ESL languages, big request on the racetrack right now. There is so many needs that I just run out of time to be able to explain it all. One of the final things I'll tell you is that we need space to provide mattresses for the staff that come in on a rotating basis, and we to store it and have food available for them when they come in. So I do thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. And I believe Delegate Bartlett was the first hand up, and then we'll go to Delegate Rogers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Chaplain Ron, good to see you. So you didn't get a chance to actually state what it is that you are seeking and asking the delegation for. So could you tell us what you actually need and the cost of that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. We are looking for a trailer so that we can house on the racetrack itself that can serve as a base for the community to come and access the service they need. The cost of the trailer is, including installation and setup, is $50,000.
And your ask to the delegation is?
$50,000, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for the response. Thank you, Delegate Bartlett. Looks like we have Delegate Rogers and then Delegate Chisholm. Delegate Rogers? Oh, you're still on mute.
Am I unmuted now?
You're good. You're good.
Okay, I was trying to hit that unmute button. But Chaplain, first, let me thank you for the laudatory work that you're doing out at Laurel Racetrack. Just a couple questions. So one is, I mean, just in terms of siting of the trailer, has the Laurel Racetrack, have they approved a siting location? And could you tell us where that is?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. We've been in discussions with the acting executive director, Corey Johnson. But as you know, everything has just changed. The new director just come in, the managing director, Bill Naff. So he's informed him, and he's only taken his position into effect, which was last Friday, which was our first race meeting for the year. So we are in discussions with them to sit down and finalize it, especially taking into the effect that all of this is coming into effect as of now, they're busy working with Pimlico and the new training center. So as soon as they get through that, they are willing and acceptable. I see no opposition. They've been very welcoming and forthcoming to get this going for us.
But as of right now, you don't have a specific location or an agreement for a location for the trailer to be placed.
So they've given us verbal agreement, and they've asked me to scout a few spots that we could place this trailer, and we've come up with it. We just need to meet with them and finalize which one they want selected.
Okay, and then the other question is, have you sought funding from any other sources to be able to do this project before requesting a legislative bond initiative?
Yes, sir. We are looking at the HB 337 bill Delegate Lehman's putting forward. We're looking to respectfully look at that. We do have support coming in from the Racetrack Chaplains of America. We have a few other churches in the local district that is willing to support us and has already partially. Some of the jockeys within the industry and racehorse trainers and owners are also pretty much supporting us partially at the moment and looking to expand with us.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the responses. Looks like we have one more question. Delegate Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Delegate Rogers kind of asked my question, but I'm going to follow up on that. With the location, have you figured, will you be able to cover the operational costs? So let's say that you get the trailer, do you get the operational cost? Does that go into Laurel's regular budget? And before you answer, I will make one suggestion that maybe you look to try to get some tax exemption for some of the revenue from the racetrack or the conglomerate of all of the racetracks, because racetracks are struggling now. They're having a hard time making money. And obviously, anytime you can defray tax money and maybe have that dedicated to you, that might be helpful. I know that's a big lift for me to put on you, but it might be helpful. It might be a benefit to both sides to lower their tax burden, but also make sure that if you are able to get the trailer set, that you can cover operational costs, because the cost of utilities and everything else that goes along with that, you're going to need to make sure that you can not only open it up and do the good work that you're doing, but continue to do the good work.
Yeah, thank you for the question. There are a couple of trailers at the moment on the racetrack utilized by the veterinary surgeons and a few of the other equipment staff. The racetrack provides the electricity for those type of things. They do assist in that regard.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Delegate Rogers, one last follow-up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, for a second bite at the apple. So I know that, and this is really for folks on the delegation to understand, with the Lowell Racetrack, after we host the Preakness in 2027, then, that goes back to Pimlico. So then what happens to the trailer at that point?
Yes, we've been in discussions with them. Thank you for that question. This trailer in itself is a modular. That is why we selected it, because it has to be relocated to the permanent facility, which will be Shamrock Farm, the new training facility.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for the question.
Okay, we want to thank both of our groups here today, Rood Ranch and the Laurel Racetrack chaplains, for presenting today. Thank you all. We appreciate for the info. And I don't see any other questions of the delegation. Next week, obviously, we're meeting and we will continue to hear bill hearings and our LBIs. And I appreciate everyone's patience in moving the agenda forward. At this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you